You're 7. Some village in West Africa. You don't remember the country because that was the first thing they took. Civil war swallows your home overnight. Your parents are killed in front of you. Men with machetes and rifles round up the children. You're small, quiet, and you don't cry. That's why they pick you. A commander they call Papa hands you an AK that weighs more than you do. He runs the unit like a family, feeds you, names you, gives you a purpose. Your first kill is at 9. A prisoner tied to a post. Papa says it's a test. You pass. From that day, the kills blur together. Villages, checkpoints, ambushes. By 12, you've done things that would put a grown man in a psych ward for life. But your brain does something strange. It starts deleting. Not everything, just the faces. You remember the recoil, the smell, the sound. But the people dissolve like wet paper. Your mind is protecting itself by eating its own files. At 14, a private military contractor raids Papa's camp. They don't rescue you out of kindness. They inventory you. They test your reflexes, your accuracy, your psychological profile. You score off the charts in something they call compartmentalization, the ability to kill without emotional residue. Most child soldiers they recover are broken beyond use, flinchy, unstable, nightmares and bedwetting. But you're clean. A man in a pressed uniform and aviator sunglasses flips through your results like he's reading a menu. He tells the medic you're a rare asset. They fly you out of Africa on a cargo plane with no windows. You land in a facility somewhere cold. Could be Eastern Europe. Could be Scandinavia. They don't tell you, and you've learned not to ask. The building is gray. The hallways are gray. The people are gray. Your old life is officially over. Not that there was much left to delete. The facility is a training compound for private military contractors, but your wing is different. It's a program for kids like you. Child soldiers recovered from conflict zones and repurposed for the private market. There are maybe 15 of you. Different countries, different wars, same empty eyes. They strip your identity completely. New name, new language, new muscle memory. They train you in long-range precision shooting, close quarters elimination, edged weapons, poisons, surveillance, counter-surveillance, disguise, and the art of disappearing from a room that only has one exit. Your instructors are ex-intelligence officers from agencies that don't officially exist. Men who speak in monotone and never use their real names. They don't teach you to be a soldier. Soldiers follow orders in a unit. They teach you to be a product. A scalpel that gets shipped to the client makes one cut and vanishes. The training lasts 4 years. By 18, you speak 5 languages, can put a bullet through a coin at 800 meters, and can kill a man with a ballpoint pen in under 3 seconds. You graduate not with a diploma, but with a price tag. The man in the aviators, your handler, explains the business model. Governments, corporations, and ultra-wealthy individuals pay a fee to access you through a broker network. Your starting rate is $2 million per contract. The rules are simple. 0 collateral damage. 0 forensic evidence. 0 connection to the client. If even one of those conditions gets violated, your value drops, and assets that lose value get decommissioned. He doesn't explain what decommissioned means. He doesn't need to. Your first professional contract. An arms dealer in Beirut who's been selling hardware to the wrong side of a conflict that 3 different governments are pretending they're not involved in. The client is a NATO-aligned intelligence agency that can't officially touch him. You spend 3 weeks building his pattern of life, his morning routine, his security detail rotation, his mistress's apartment on the 4th floor of a building on Hamra Street, the exact brand of cigarettes he smokes on his balcony every night at 11 p.m. On the night, you take position on a rooftop 600 meters east. You wait for him to step out. He lights a cigarette. The cherry glows in your scope. You send one round through a 4-inch gap in his balcony railing. He drops before the cigarette hits the ground. His bodyguard rushes out, checks the body, and calls it a heart attack. No sirens, no investigation, no second shot needed. You're on a flight to Vienna before dawn. Your handler deposits $2 million into a numbered account you'll probably never touch. You don't feel pride. You don't feel guilt. You feel absolutely nothing. And that nothing is the entire point. That's what they're paying for. Over the next decade, you become a myth. Not famous. Myths don't have faces. A cartel boss in Mexico City poisoned through his insulin supply. The coroner calls it diabetic shock. His wife collects the insurance. Case closed. A corrupt general in Myanmar, dropped by a single round during a monsoon storm. The thunder masks the shot. The investigation concludes he died from a stray round during a nearby skirmish that never actually happened. A tech billionaire's business rival found floating face down in his own infinity pool during a party of 200 guests. Ruled accidental drowning. Blood alcohol was 0.09. Nobody checks for the needle mark behind his left ear. A defense minister in Eastern Europe who was about to testify before an international tribunal. Massive stroke in his sleep. His doctor signs the death certificate without a second thought. Natural causes. You were in his bedroom for 90 seconds. Your rate climbs to $5 million, then $10 million. Then the broker stops quoting a number and just tells clients to make an offer. Governments hire you to solve problems that don't exist on paper. Corporations hire you to remove obstacles that boardroom politics can't. You're not the most dangerous killer in the world. There are cheaper ones who'll spray a cafe with bullets for pocket change. You're the most expensive because when you're done, there's no crime scene. There's no suspect. There's barely even a cause of death worth questioning. You're not an assassin. You're an eraser. But the hard drive is corrupting. The same mechanism that makes you lethal, the compartmentalization, the ability to delete emotion and faces, it's not staying in its lane anymore. It's spreading. You start forgetting things that have nothing to do with the work. The name of the village you were born in. Gone. Your mother's face. Gone. The language you spoke as a child. The one Papa's soldiers beat out of you and replaced with commands. Gone. You try to remember what your father looked like, and all you get is static. One morning, you wake up in a hotel in Vienna, and for 30 seconds, you don't know what city you're in. You stand in front of the bathroom mirror, and the face looking back at you feels borrowed, like someone else's photo taped over a hole. You sit on the edge of the bathtub and try to count how many people you've killed. You can't. Not because the number is too high, but because the files are corrupted. The kills have merged into one long continuous loop of recoil and silence. Your handler notices the drift. He runs you through a cognitive battery. The results concern him, but not for your well-being. For the product's shelf life. He adjusts your medication, tells you the degradation is manageable, tells you plenty of operators function at this level for years. But you know the math better than he does. Every contract you complete costs you a file. And the files aren't just targets' faces anymore. They're yours. Memories, languages, fragments of a life that existed before Papa, before the facility, before the grey hallways. You're the world's most expensive assassin, and you're being slowly erased by your own gift. A new contract comes in, highest fee ever offered. The target is a warlord operating in Central Africa. You open the dossier, and your hands stop. The photos show a jungle compound. Child soldiers carrying AKs too big for their arms. A man in a beret sitting in a plastic chair with a machete across his lap. They call him Papa. Different country, different war. Maybe even a different man. But the same system. The same playbook. The same factory that built you is still running production. Your handler asks if there's a problem. You say no. You fly to the region. You spend 2 weeks on recon. You build the pattern. You find your position. A ridgeline, 700 meters from the compound, with clean sight lines. You settle behind the scope and put the crosshair on Papa's chest. And for the first time in your career, your finger hesitates. Not because of the target, because 3 meters to his left, standing perfectly still, is a boy. Maybe 8 years old, small, quiet, not crying. Holding a rifle he can barely lift. You recognize everything about him. Not his face, his posture. That blank stillness of a kid whose insides have already been scooped out and replaced with obedience. You're looking at yourself. 20 years ago, same eyes, same silence, same empty slot where a childhood used to be. You take the shot. Papa drops clean. But you don't extract. For the first time in your career, you go off script. You leave your position and walk into the compound alone. No backup, no exit plan. No handler in your ear. Just you and a rifle you don't intend to use again. The child soldiers scatter into the bush like startled birds. All of them except the boy. He stands over Papa's body with no expression. Not grief, not relief, not shock. Just the blank loading screen of a brain that doesn't know what to do without a command. He looks at you and doesn't run. He doesn't raise his weapon either. He just waits. Because that's what they trained him to do. Wait for the next order. You kneel in front of him. You want to say something, anything, but every language in your head suddenly feels foreign. You try to reach back into whatever's left of the hard drive and pull up a single word of comfort from your own childhood. Something your mother might have said. Something soft. The file is gone. Corrupted or deleted, you don't know which. You take the boy by the hand. You walk him out of the jungle. It takes 2 days. He doesn't speak, neither do you. At a border camp, you hand him to an NGO worker and tell her one thing. Keep him away from anyone in a uniform. She nods. Then she asks for your name. You open your mouth and realize you don't have one. Not the real one. That was the first file they deleted. Before Papa, before the facility, before the price tag. You turn around and walk into the tree line without answering. Your handler calls. You don't pick up. He calls again. You pull the SIM card and snap the phone in half. You know exactly what comes next because you've been on the other end of it. Assets that go off-grid get decommissioned. That's not a metaphor. Somewhere in the system, a broker is already assigning your file to another operator. Probably someone from your own program. Some kid who graduated a few years after you, trained on the same range, slept in the same gray hallway, learned to kill from the same ghosts in monotone voices. You've got maybe 72 hours before they find you. You check into a motel on a dirt road in a country you won't name. You sit on the edge of the bed and do something you haven't done in 20 years. You try to remember. Not a target, not a mission. One thing from before. One image from the village. One sound. One face. Anything that proves the boy existed before they turned him into a product. And somewhere deep in the corrupted drive, a fragment surfaces. Not a face, not a word. A smell. Wood smoke and rain. And the feeling of a woman's hand on your forehead. Cool and steady. You don't know if it's real or if your dying brain invented it to fill the gap. But you hold onto it the way a drowning man holds onto a piece of wood. Because it might be the last file on a drive that's almost empty. And outside the window, the sun is going down, and the clock is ticking, and somewhere out there, someone just like you is loading a rifle. That's a wrap for today. This story is fiction, but right now, there are an estimated 300,000 child soldiers active in the world. Most will be discarded. A few will be recycled into something worse. If this one stayed with you, drop a comment with your biggest takeaway. More stories like this are coming. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one.